Pasha Pyro, YNet7. Thank you for tuning. All right, we're gonna get back into this. I got an article for you today. Let's see here. It is. Give you the exact title real quick. Man, it's becoming more and more. It's becoming increasingly challenging to just sit by and look at what society is being reduced to mentally, physically, and know why, and know that people are worried about all the wrong things except for what it would take to actually get us up out of this situation. So the article today we're going to look at, you may have seen it from right before what you guys call Christmas. Not you guys, just YNet7, but what many people in the world refer to as Christmas, the 25th of December. So on the 24th, the article came out that U.S. states make bold move to reclassify gold and silver. We're going to look at that in a moment. We're going to talk the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to look at how that conflicts with HJR 192. We're going to look at what Article 1, Section 10 states about the situation, and really just showcase the insanity factor of United States citizens and the opportunity that lies before them to come at least one step out of the insanity by seeing this for what it is and realizing what's been done to their mental health, how they've been gaslit, how this has affected their families, and the reality of how they're being controlled and manipulated while they're thinking they're getting money. So we're going to cover all that. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this brief 30-second commercial break.
Another great small business owner saw the value of Pyro's promo panel campaign production and just ordered their panels for 24Q1 and 24Q2. Don't keep feeling like something is missing in your brand life. Execute with Pasha Pyro's personalized marketing and branding. This is nation building, baby. PashaPyro@gmail.com.
All right, let's get the article up on the screen here and take a look. In review. So if you do celebrate, I don't celebrate any holidays, birthdays, none of that. It's all, but I appreciate those who do, that you're out there enjoying yourself. And if you did, then I feel good for you. So let's take a look at this. United States states make bold move to reclassify gold and silver. So the proposed legislation will remove barriers to using gold and silver as money by lowering transaction costs. Right? Think about the mind control as we go through this, right? You know, we got the song Mind Control, Pasha Pyro. Just Google Pasha Pyro. It's out. And it's the 27th of December. So Trust No Citizen comes out January 9th. And you really get to, shout out to the people that understand the new age movement, the zeitgeist factor, and who rocked with me from day one. We ready to turn up. So with the truth, right? Not my truth, your truth, their truth. We're gonna use the truth. So here we go. Let's look at the truth of this. This article says, and then we'll go into what the truth behind the article is, because this is all gaslighting. So the proposed legislation would remove barriers to using gold and silver as money by lowering transaction costs. Right? Think about that first of all. Why you need a transaction cost, period, to purchase something. Right? Control, power, manipulation. Know that you've heard me say before, You can't have the pursuit, the Constitution words, the pursuit of life, liberty, or excuse me, life, liberty. You can't have equality to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in a currency-based system. And I'm gonna show you why. No matter, let me get big on the screen real quick. I'm gonna show you why. No matter if you want to go this direction at this point in time, in the timeline that we're in, it's irrelevant. Like the whole argument of, hey, go back to the gold standard. Hey, let's get current gold back. It's all done. It's irrelevant. And I'm gonna tell you why. And then I'm gonna tell you why either going that direction and or going to the point where you want to talk about cryptos and blockchain currencies and CDCs. All of that's a death trap. Any direction you go is a death trap. We're gonna review it why. All right, so here we go. So the bills also aim to treat precious metals as legal tender, breaking down the Federal Reserve's monopoly on money. Now, this to anybody that knows is so like dumb because legal tender, we're operating on the barter system. We never left the barter system to begin with. So you can trade 35 chickens for a pair of Nikes if you want to right now. That's the barter system. So all you're doing is taking the fiat currency, the bill, the debt note, and swapping it for what you want, just like you were swapping 3 chickens. That's all you're doing. They just have this verbiage to make you think that you're using money because there hasn't been any money since the 30s. But anyway, so the Federal Reserve's monopoly on money, that's wrong. They have a monopoly on currency, and they're printing the currency and regulating the currency. So that's insanity factors right there. The move is part of a larger effort at the state level to support sound money and challenge the federal government's fiat currency system, right? Which is ironic because the state level is part of the federal government, because the state that you think you're in is probably not really the state that you think you're in, because it's really a part of the hierarchy of the federal government to begin with for entertainment purposes. But if you believe this, or for those that believe this, it sounds great, right? So this apparently is authored by Michael Maharari, right? So shout out to them. So it says bills filed in Oklahoma and Missouri legislatures for 2024 legislative session would eliminate state capital gains tax on the sale of gold and silver. The legislation would also take other steps to treat gold and silver as money instead of as commodities, which, tell me how you're going to do that when gold and silver is a commodity around the world with a fluctuating value based on supply and demand at any given moment. So you're going to take it off of fiat currency and now put it into a corrupt, controlled, manipulated gold market and expect it to be legitimate. Problem after problem after problem. But let's take a look. In Missouri, Representative Doug Ritchie filed that on December 11th. So they give you some here where the bills are going. The enactment of any of these bills would eliminate state capital gains tax on the sale and exchange of gold and or silver bullion. Both of these states are already among the 42 that do not levy sales tax on gold and silver bullion. Exempting the sale of gold and silver bullion from taxes lowers the investment costs of precious metals. It also takes a step towards treating gold and silver as money instead of commodities. Taxes on precious metal bullion erect barriers to using gold and silver as money by raising transaction costs. So, how different is that from your local credit, your local credit card, right? But how different is that from the way the credit card system is set up, right? Is that really different? Because let's look at some words here. Now, tender is the offer of money, right? So they're trying to make this gold and or silver, listen to the wordplay, legal tender. But tender is an offer of money, but gold and silver is supposed to be money, right? And if you look at Pasha, what are you talking about? Let's go here real quick. Got the photo in here. Bam. So we go here to see, you watch the game over Christmas because you thought you had money saved up. You feel like you and your family's in a good position, right? And you think Pasha's just some angry reject, right? That's lunatic. But when you read Article 1, Section 10, it actually tells you no state shall enter into a treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit. And here's the thing: make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payments of debt. So if you don't know nothing, if you don't know what you don't know, then the article sounds like they're doing something good for you, right? If you don't know what you don't know, and you can't admit to yourself that you don't know what you don't know, then you're easily manipulated. Your emotions are weaponized against you over and over again, and you feel like you're being strong while you're just a frog in a pot of boiling hot water. And you just think you're being stronger and stronger and stronger with your environment while you're dying. And your family's dying, and your future generations are going to be died and sold off and controlled and manipulated, all because you were enjoying a football game and fireworks instead of putting any effort and energy to actually free your families from the oppression, because the book said we perish due to lack of knowledge, not NFL Sunday tickets, right? And because you don't know any better, you don't know this, you're out there running around thinking that you're better than somebody, those who are. That's why that's 7, right? I know your viewers, I know the viewers here are different. But this is why we look at the people funny running around talking about they got money. Because they don't, we obviously look and see that they don't know any better. They're still like child in mind. They're, when you see the basketball scorer and they put the hand down saying they too small, yeah, their mind is too small to comprehend the reality. So we can't trust them. January 9th, trust no citizen. We can't trust them to be a part of the movement towards sustainable communities because they still believe in paper. So if you don't know the word, what the word means, and if you don't know what the reality is, I don't expect you to understand my music. I expect you to criticize it harshly and say, oh my God, what is he talking about? This song is so trash. And no, your brain is trash and you don't understand the value of reality. And that's how we have to view you, but we have to accept that because we realize you don't know any better. And the more we try to show you, the more emotional you get, the more you run, because feminine energy is attraction. Masculine energy is about the work. So when we ask you to work on some shit, you run from masculine energy to the feminine energy who wants to be attraction, the victim, the complaining all the time, to see that you have something that you're not utilizing, like $40 million in the bank means that you don't know what the fuck to do with it. Like Oprah and The Rock. And then they get on there and ask you to send your money in, your quote unquote money in, your currency in, to donate for a cause, because obviously they could afford to do it themselves, but they would rather have you do it for them. Right? And then you're all charged up by that. But let's get back to this. So no state, skip a few words, shall make anything but gold and or silver coin a tender in payment of debts. Now, when you go and read the United States Code, instead of watching the football game and shooting fireworks, you'll learn that the United States will tell you that the United States is a state, but not a state of the United States. See, when you go read the code, the United States tell you that they're not what you think they are, but you just never read the United States Code. I mean, I ain't saying I read the whole thing. It's long as fuck, right? But if you go and start to read a little bit at a time, you conquer it little by little, like you're trying to conquer the people around you and make them submit to your dumbass shit. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just being like, yo, we could all work together to become free. No, you want to help keep everybody a slave, right? You crabs in the barrel mentality, right? That's more valuable to you. If I'm a crab, let me make you a crab instead of us both get up out of this pot. And then you wonder why people come along in history and want to exterminate 80% of the planet, because your mentality is fucked up and it's fucking everything up for the rest of us. So it's like a disease. It's like a cancer. And when you go to the doctor, what do they do to the cancer? They hit it with radiation. So that's why you drop the nuclear bombs, right? You want to radiate the problem, because you're left with no other choice in your mind, because you don't know holistic health, not a doctor, but that could offer you remedy without such measures. Again, the knowledge makes the difference. The only thing that separates people is thought process. So when you believe in paper, you think you better than someone who don't give a fuck about the paper. Yeah, I would rather struggle to pay rent than to act like I believe in what you call money when I know it doesn't exist. Because Pasha Paro stand on truth, not imagination. So me even doing this video makes it more challenging for me to be what you call successful in business or hold down what you would call a job, because I'm surrounded by insanity, right? And in order for me to participate to some degree, I need to either be insane with them or lose that opportunity to capture fiat currency. And I would rather lose the opportunity to capture fiat currency and remain true. So sustainable communities is, if you focus, we need to get rid of the bullshit. If you're a leader in your community, you got to get rid of all the bullshit. That same energy and effort could have been put into applying towards reaching a destination. When I was 12 years old, I had my rifle and archery merit badge. We was able to shoot 3 shots under a quarter and 3 shots under a nickel from 50 yards away, just to get our rifle merit badge, along with all the safety and gun safety. Why are our kids out here playing with fireworks for 4 hours straight? We need to have them in training so that if you didn't see the video from Virginia when the police department pulled up and supposedly the house blew up that they were trying to serve a warrant to, if you didn't see the video of how the house blew up when they were serving a warrant in Virginia, and that didn't make you think about when the helicopter was flying over Philadelphia and burnt down the whole block because they dropped a bomb on the house, if that didn't make you remember that shit and know that your community need to come together when these motherfuckers roll in here with their little armored tanks and armored cars, then maybe you'll have your kids out there playing with fireworks. But if you remember that shit, you gonna have them out there training and learning how to shoot and get yourself some vests and shit, because we gonna have to stand up against that shit eventually. Y'all playing the wrong fucking games. And then you testing people's patience, because to you, you think you're testing someone, but you're just showing how ignorant you are. And then as soon as they come out and spray the whole block up, blow the whole building up, now you all on the news crying, oh my God, what happened to some? I can't believe. No, you should have believed it when you were poking the bear. But but you're too busy worshiping fake paper, false idols, that you thought something was wrong with them. All right, so no money should be anything but legal tender. Let's get back to that. U.S. citizens are insane, and this is why. No state shall make anything but gold or silver coin a tender in payment of debts. It's right here in the United States Constitution, Bill of Rights, Article 1, Section 10. You didn't even get past Article 1, Section 10, but you can tell me all the scores to last week's football game. And then only person we had to blame really is the women. I'm not gonna say we had them to blame the only person. What I mean is the women support the shit. They want you to get your little man cave so you can watch the sports because they are property. They know they're property of the United States government. That's why y'all all scared of your wives, because they're gonna kick your ass out the house, get a divorce, take half of what you got, take the kids, and the government's gonna give them a check for doing so. So you pussy to your wife because you can't even stand up and tell them how you need to protect them. You can't even tell your wife how you need to protect them because you're afraid of your wife. And you're going to question me about what the fuck I'm doing out here around the world. And you wonder why we call you children. All right, pashapyro@gmail.com. Let's get this building going, this nation building. All right, so let's get back to this article, okay? Read a little bit more of that, and then I'll get into the good stuff. Hold on, I'm getting on the screen for you. You know, I do everything by myself. So, you know what I mean? Y'all ain't sending no cash apps. I ain't asking you, I ain't begging for shit, right? But you know, if I get a team, you know, of course we can do this a lot more efficient, but y'all just bear with me while we clicking these buttons because I do everything myself. I do everything myself, by myself, everything. Because you can't trust no citizen. July 9th, 2024. Make sure you play it, cop it, stream it, whatever you want to do. All right, so here we go. So we were at here. It says, imagine if you asked the grocery clerk to break a $5 bill and he charged you a 35-cent tax. It says silly, right? After all, you were only exchanging one form of money for another. But that's essentially what a sales tax on gold and silver bullion does. Now, see, the stupidity is they tell you right here in the state, that's what essentially a sales tax, and then they say on gold and bullion does. But think about it, all those states that have a sales tax period, whether it's latent or presented, is a sales tax. Like, this is the dumbest shit. Like, they taught us to read, but they didn't teach us to comprehend. And that's the problem. They taught you how to be emotional. So you have emotional attachments to beliefs of what you read, but you don't know shit, many people. It tell you right here, essentially what a sales tax is, but they hide it on gold and silver. So you think they're talking about only gold and silver, but they're doing the same thing to you with your currency. What's the fucking difference? The sales tax rate? Like if you go to one state, the sales tax is different than another state. So what's the fucking difference? Right? By eliminating this tax on the exchange of gold and silver, Missouri and Oklahoma would treat species of money instead of I guess he meant to say would treat it as a species of money instead of a commodity. This represents a small step towards establishing gold and silver as legal tender and breaking down the Fed's monopoly on money. Ooh, now they want to get you emotionally charged up for the people that are leaning towards this mindset so they can get you mentally control over you, mind control. Go check the song out, shameless plug. And then they can steer you off the course because this is about to be a huge disaster, especially if these states approve it and other states follow. And I'm going to tell you why. let's go back to this real quick. Because what is liberty? Right? See, y'all just let people encroach on your liberty. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't realize when you affect someone else's liberty because you don't know what it is. Right? And then when they respond because you're affecting their liberty, now you want to play victim. So liberty is freedom, exemption from extraneous control. The power, and this is from the Black's Law Dictionary, the power, 3rd edition, 1933, the power of the will to follow the dictates of its unrestricted choice and to direct the external acts of the individual without restraint, coercion, or control from other persons. So when you out there doing your thing, or in your home doing your thing, and someone called the cops on you, like in COVID, when you were cutting your grass without a mask, see, now you're getting, they're trying to apply control from other persons on you. That's an infringement on your liberty, but you didn't know that. You didn't know that they didn't call the cops on you when your music was loud. They just turned their music up because, hey, I just want to hear, I wanted peace and quiet, but since I got to hear music, let me hear my shit. See, unrestricted choice. Because if I didn't hear your shit, I wouldn't have to turn my shit up. But y'all too busy claiming victim when they blow your car up. Right? See, because napalm is only styrofoam and gas. I mean, it's that simple. So let's get back to this article. So it says we ought not to, let me get this on the screen for you. It says we ought not to tax money, and that's a good idea. It makes no sense to tax money. If it, first of all, we already clarified what the money is, but if it makes no sense to tax money, then tell that to the taxpayers of the United States that y'all sucking dry for 30 to 50% of what they made in 2023 and 22 every year, right? We ought not to tax money, and that's a good idea. It makes no sense to tax money. So we're going to say that, and we're going to apply it over here, though, on this little bullshit ass shit that don't mean nothing, but a way to get more control over you about, we're going to try and make gold and silver, get you guys all feeling good. But dummy, if that's the case, then fucking get rid of this IRS tax scam every year. But see, the U.S. citizens don't think. They don't think beyond their emotions. Which is why they'll hear that and they'll say, oh, they're going to try not, they shouldn't tax money, so we should be able to use gold and silver. Well, apply that to your refund this year. Get all that shit back. Matter of fact, do away with the whole system then. Oh, no, we need to, oh, well, shut the fuck up because you're dumb. Because you can't apply, you can't serve two masters. You can't say this is good, only works here when the equation is infinite. Then it says, that was said by the former U.S. Ron Paul, right, that repeal capital gains tax on gold and silver in the state, saying paper is not money, it's fraud, he continued. See, when Ron Paul say that shit, it make article news. When Pasha say that shit, people avoid his ass because it's masculine energy and they want some feminine energy to go run to. The impact of enacting this legislation will go beyond mere tax policy during an event after his Senate committee testimony, Paul pointed out that it's only really about the size and scope of the government. If you're for less government, you want sound money. The people who want big government, they don't want sound money. They want to deceive you and commit fraud. They want to print the money. They want a monopoly. They want to get you conditioned, as our schools have conditioned us to the point where deficits don't matter. Now let's take a look at something real quick here. So for those that don't know, it might be a little hard for you to read, but this is HJR 192. And if it's not the exact copy, then share the exact copy, but this is the best copy. It's one of those hard to find documents. Let me make sure I got it on the screen for you. Okay, yeah, it's there. So HJR 192, June 1933, right, states that to assure uniform value to the coins and currencies of the United States. Notice it didn't say America. Whereas the holding of or dealing in gold affect the public interest and therefore subject to proper regulation and restriction, and whereas the existing emergency has disclosed that provisions of obligations which support to give the obligee a right to require payment in gold or a particular kind of coin or currency of the United States, or in the amount or in an amount in money of the United States measured thereby, obstruct the power of the Congress to regulate the value of the money of the United States. Now, remember, we just viewed that if you believe in the Constitution, which is really a set of rules for the United States citizens, then it tells you that money should have been only gold or silver coinage, right? So what it's telling you here is that basically the United States said, hey, hold up, wait a minute. We having trouble regulating the value of the money of the United States because they were trying to do something different, right? So they had to get rid of the gold to do that. So to continue, it says, and are inconsistent with the declared policy of Congress to maintain at all times the equal power of every dollar coined in or issued by the United States. Coined or issued by the United States in the markets and in the payments of debts. Now, therefore, be it, go to page 2, resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled that A, every provision contained in or made with respect to any obligation which purports to give the obligee a right to require payment in gold or a particular kind of coin or currency or in an amount in money of the United States measured thereby is declared to be against public policy. And no such provision shall be contained in or made with respect to any obligation hereafter incurred. Every obligation heretofore or hereafter incurred, whether or not any such provision is contained therein or made with respect thereto, shall be discharged upon payment dollar for dollar in any coin or currency which at the time of payment is legal tender for public and private debts. So if they get rid of the gold, they owe everything. You can't pay nothing. And you never been paid in your life. You go to work and you haven't been paid. You got currency, which is fake. It's fiat. And maybe you got some satisfaction because you had the job well done. You help some people, you help customers, and you get that satisfaction. Because the word pay actually means to satisfy, especially when dealing with what they call money. But you don't know that, many of you, outside of Y-7. So since they took all the gold out of circulation, they are responsible for all your debts because you have no way to pay them. Any provision contained in any law authorizing obligations to be issued by or under authority of the United States is hereby repealed. But the repeal of any such provision shall not invalidate any other provision or authority contained in such law. And then here's B. As used in this resolution, the term obligation means an obligation, including every obligation of and to the United States accepting currency, payable in money of the United States, and the term coin or currency means coin or currency of the United States, including Federal Reserve notes and circulating notes of Federal Reserve banks and national banking associations. So here's the closure with section 2. The last sentence of paragraph 1 of subsection B of section 43 of the act entitled An Act to Relieve the Existing Economic Emergency by Increasing Agricultural Purchasing Power to Raise Revenue. See, this is where they're telling you why they're, first of all, you got to understand what you think is your government is only allowed to be what it is in its current capacity as long as they can maintain that there's some sort of emergency going on. And that's why you see there's always some sort of emergency they're selling you, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't have the reach and broadness that they have over United States citizens, right? And then they wouldn't be able to, and if United States citizens weren't so numerous and ignorant, then they wouldn't be thinking that the Americans are United States citizens and trying to apply that shit to Americans as well. Because then they could just assume that everybody believes that they're a United States citizen because so many of y'all do. So as used in this resolution, the term obligation means, we already read that. Section 2, the last sentence of paragraph, so here's what. An act to relieve the existing national economic emergency by increasing agricultural purchasing power to raise revenue for extraordinary expenses incurred by reason of such emergency, to provide emergency relief with respect to agricultural indebtedness, to provide for the orderly liquidation of joint stocks, land banks, and for other purposes. So see, when the United States couldn't pay their debt, they said, we're just going to change the currency. We're going to take money out of circulation and give this fiat paper that we can print more of. And that's how we're going to pay us, look like we're going to pay everything. But when you don't pay your debt, they come and collect the shit. And that's why it's so important for you to understand that being a United States citizen and all those little check boxes they give you makes you a political subdivision, which makes you property of the United States. And everything that you think you ever owned in life, and yourself included, are now assets of the United States that they use as collateral for debts that they have globally. What happens, do you think? What do you think happens when they don't pay their debts? You're the collateral, motherfuckers. So you better be really interested in those debt ceiling meetings. Because when China wants to cash in on a debt, your name might be on the list. Then China won't need to work their own people because they'll have a fresh boatload of slaves in 2024. So where are we at here? All coins and currencies of the United States, including Federal Reserve notes and circulating notes of Federal Reserve banks and national banking associations, heretofore or hereafter coined or issued, shall be legal tender for all debts, public and private, public charges, taxes, duties, and dues, except that gold coins, when below the standard weight and limit of tolerance provided by the law for a single piece, shall be legal tender only at valuation in proportion to their actual weight. So this is the document where they took the money out of circulation and gave you fiat currency. Feel free to review that at your leisure. Now, why is this so important? Right? Because the good side are going to tell you, oh, it's going to be a move towards decentralization of the currency, right? We're going to give control to the states. But the problem with that is, how much gold is in circulation? Excuse me. If the issue is that the problem, like you heard me say many times here, is that you can't have equality to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in a society controlled by currency, because someone's controlling the currency, someone's controlling your access to the currency, someone's saying you got to jump through 25 hoops, you got to go work 80 hours, you got to work at $20 an hour, you got to do this for 5 years to get this amount. Meanwhile, somebody else just goes into a bank or office and they hand them the same amount just for signing a document. So you're picking and choosing who has access to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because you're living under rule of, control of a fiat currency. And it doesn't matter what you swap out at this point, at this stage in the game. If you go back to gold standard, if you go to crypto, if you go to blockchain, whatever you think you're going to go to, they're going to regulate, have control, access, and with the social credit score system coming in publicly now, you're fucked. So until you get it to the point where it's a totally free society, then there won't be equality to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So they're going to argue that, oh, it's going to be a greater stability and protection against inflation. But we know that whole terminology is a manipulation of the fact that they're deflating the value of the currency over the years and telling you that you need more of it to make the same purchases. We know that it costs you $100 now to buy what $2 bought you in the 30s. So when you say, hey, you're making $25 an hour, that's really $4 an hour in the 30s with the same purchasing power. So put that in your mind, that if you're only worth $25 an hour, you're really worth $4 an hour if this was 1930. You had the same purchasing power. That's how much damage they've done to what you call currency. So they're going to say, oh, it's going to be able to now serve as a means to back the asset of currency, right? Well, again, if it's a commodity that's being controlled by someone else, how do you regulate that in free form? How do you prevent corruption and manipulation that's already taken place as it's a commodity on the stock market? Right? You're not going to be able to. So there's no safeguard there. And the states are going to argue that it's going to help them create self or state autonomy, which is self-governance, right? And they're going to say they're going to be able to have autonomy in their financial matters, but we know that's false because we just clarified that, oh, it's going to remain a commodity no matter what they do, right? So you're going to have the computer manufacturers need gold. You're going to have the circuit industry people need gold. So it's still going to be a commodity regardless, right? So they're going to say, oh, it's going to increase control over monetary policy. Bullshit. It's going to increase control over you as a policy, all right? Now, how you going to talk about being able to count it all once it becomes money nowadays, right? Global impact problems there, all right? Where you going to store that? How you going to pay? How you going to pay for something? You know what I'm saying? You're going to go to the car dealership with a pound bar of gold. What happens when you buy your house cash and you transfer it? How you gonna fly that over to? You're gonna fly that over to the state where the mortgage owner is. You ready to pay off your house, $450,000 worth of value. You're gonna take 10 gold bars, and what are you gonna do? Ship it FedEx? It's gonna create a lot of instability if this was to happen right now, right? A lot of global financial problems are gonna happen if this happens right now, big scale, right? So don't be fooled by the manipulation of the emotion factor. It sounds good, but it's about 100 years too late, right? It's basically incompatible with the modern economy. So if you go back to HJR 192, we've identified that they shifted from the gold standard to a fiat currency system for control. So that tells you the only reason they would be willing to deviate from that is for additional control. How's that going to affect your mental health? Okay, so we got accessibility issues, right? We got the volatility of the market. We got the hoarding and scarcity factors. We got economic reduction in growth because this is definitely gonna, if they, the irony is that they can't save you now when the economy fucks up. If they go to the gold standard, they can't just print more money or tell you they're printing more money, right? So you're gonna have global trade challenges and social disruptions. Okay. Now here's the last thing I want to cover for you, and then we can get up out of here. I appreciate y'all time. Spread the message. Share. Let's get one more real quick commercial break in. Be right back.
Pyros promo panel. Another great small business owner saw the value of Pyros promo panel campaign production and just ordered their panels for 24Q1 and 24Q2. Don't keep feeling like something is missing in your brand life. Execute with Pasha Pyros personalized marketing and branding. This is nation building, baby. PashaPyro@gmail.com.
All right. So let's look at this last site here, this last bit of information I want to show you to make it all make sense. So here is a little article from the next gen personal finance, right? And it's from November 29th, 2023. So it's very, very recent. And what I wanted to just point out here, whether the validity of the article is not the question, we'll just use this as an example. But it's saying behind the numbers, tangible currency, what many people around the world think of as money, is worth $8 trillion total. So there's $8 trillion of currency right now. The world's total above ground gold reserves are estimated at 205,238 tons by the World Gold Council. And they said using a $1,750 per ounce spot price, the world's gold is worth $11.5 trillion. So if their magic solution would be to, I know a lot of people out there talk about this, to go to a gold standard now. And this is why I'm telling you, it would be it's insane at this point in time to even consider. The only solution is to make everything free and get rid of currency completely. That's the only reason why you haven't started, many of you haven't started your business or haven't scaled your business, is because you're strapped for funding. Many of you maybe would have went to college, would have tried to apply for Harvard if you could have afforded $100,000 a year tuition. I don't know what it costs, but work with me here. Maybe you might have a Porsche Cayenne instead of the Volkswagen if you could get what you really want out of life, right? Some of you will still be driving a Toyota because that's just what you like. I get it, right? But everything needs to be made free so that there can be equality in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if they're not wanting you to be equal, then what are you going to do about it? Right? Because your future generations depend on the decision that you make today. So listen to this right here. Behind the numbers, tangible currency, what many people around the world think of as money, is worth $8 trillion. The world's, hold on, let me put this back on the screen here so it all makes sense. The world's total above ground gold reserves are worth $11.5 trillion. Now it sounds good to say, oh, the currency is worth 8 trillion and the gold above ground is 11.5 trillion. We're good, Pasha. What are you talking about? Okay, here you go. The third line says billionaires around the world have collected a net worth of $12.7 trillion. And that's just talking about the billionaires around the world have collected a net worth of 12.7, which is more than $1.2 trillion in value, supposedly, hearsay, of the amount of the value of the gold that's been extracted. So right off the top, if they were to flip this switch tomorrow globally, they don't even have enough gold to satisfy the billionaires' net worth. Do you think you're going to get an ounce? And if they don't have enough to satisfy the billionaires, what's the government's going to say about that? Because the governments want their gold, right? So there would be a huge problem. The government's not going to say, here, we're going to give the billionaires all the gold. The billionaires aren't going to say, hey, government, take all of our gold and leave us with nothing, like what we look at the people that work at, that they think are beneath them. And not all billionaires are snobs, but for those who are, that would basically put them into the realm that they look at us. How do you think they're going to feel about that? And like I said, if the billionaires' net worth collectively is 12.7 trillion, but there's only 11.5 trillion dollars worth of gold, despite the argument between the billionaires and the governments, do you think you're going to get an ounce of gold? So, how are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to pay your mortgage? Can you see now why the conversation is being had from the low leaders in the world elite of 2030? You will own nothing and be happy. So all of the United States citizens that are arguing about, what privilege they have and what privilege the other person don't, you all need to realize that you're all property of the United States and you're all slaves. You just may not call yourself that because you don't know what a political subdivision is. So this is the best time, if any, to email pashapyrel@gmail.com. And let's talk about how to get you connected with your goals to transition the community to a sustainable community so that you can protect not only your family today, but your future generations. Because as you can see, there's not enough gold to satisfy the governments or the billionaires. And most of us don't fit in any of those categories right now. So what's that going to leave for you? And if we don't come together and do something about it, or stand up together now to demand something different, you're going to own nothing and be happy just like they telling you. So for everybody that thought something was wrong with me, take a look in the fucking mirror and see how dumb y'all are. You ain't got shit. And at this point, you're never going to have shit. You ain't shit, but you believe you are. But we can do something about it to bring the power back to the people in the fashion that it's supposed to be. But you're too busy exiling. You're proud because you'd rather be humble. In 2024, that's got to change. And everybody you see around me, we hungry for that change. We really fucking hungry for that change. So when you're out there in your imaginary beliefs and you're associating with people who have some serious matters on the table they're trying to deal with, ask yourself if what you're upset about worth dying for. Is your business, is your brand standing for something worth dying for? Does your business, does your brand stand for America and its future? Or is it playing the games of the United States citizenship, emotional, bitch ass shit, looking for attention to become victims so they can ask for aid and they can check a box to become a political subdivision and they can ask for permission for this and permission for that instead of exercising Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham. If a state converts a liberty into a privilege, the citizen can engage in the right with impunity. Or Murdoch versus Penn. No state shall convert a liberty into a privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. You up here talking to me about you got a business license. I don't give a shit about that. Y'all up here sharing about LLC compliance tests. Fuck that shit. It's time for you to be who you were born to be, who you were born as. And I'm Pasha Paro, critical solutions expert, here to help you and your community achieve your goals and overcome the challenges. Hit me up in that email, pashaparo@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in.